Passenger side, I've already done the driver's side. This is not hard at all, really not hard. Just make sure you get quality brake pads. I have Bosch Quietcast pads, brake pads. Part number is BC476. Then I have Bosch Quietcast brake rotors. Part number is 500-11221. These things are awesome. I've had really good luck with these rotors and shoes. Probably the best setup I've seen in a long time. One thing that's cool about Bosch Quietcast rotors is the fact that there is no oil on these. You can install these without having to use a brake cleaner on them. Most manufacturers, when they ship rotors, will put a light coating of oil on it so it doesn't rust. But Bosch has a special coating that's already on there that prevents it from rusting. So you don't need to use brake cleaner before installing the pads. Also, the pads come with new hardware. They do have new hardware. It's over there. And they also come with the grease that you need if you don't have grease. So that's one thing cool about the Bosch setup. It comes with the hardware and the grease you need for your caliper slide pins. Some guys put grease all back here or glue or whatever they want to use. It didn't come from the factory that way, so I don't ever put anything on the back shim here. You guys can leave comments whether you like to leave or put gunk on the back. I just see it as a point of buildup for dirt and debris and brake dust, so I never put anything back there. If your kit doesn't come with synthetic brake component lubricant, I've had really good luck with Permatex Silicone Ceramic Extreme Brake Parts Lubricant. Part number is 80653. I'll put a link in the description below to where you can buy this on Amazon. But this stuff is what I've used the most and had really good luck with. It's like orange in appearance. Good stuff right there. Here are the tools you need. You need a 17mm wrench, 14mm wrench. You need a hammer. You need a torque wrench that goes up to 100 foot-pounds. Got a 17mm 3/8 socket here. Have a C-clamp here to push the piston back into the caliper. 6-inch C-clamp. Yep, and then have my Milwaukee gun to get the lug nuts off. You don't need this. You can use one of those star wrenches that you use for lug nuts, but this comes in handy. This has been one of the best purchases I've ever made. Didn't think I needed it, but once you have it, it's really nice. Okay, so this rotor right here, on some Honda Acura applications, you have some screws, 2 screws typically that sit inside the rotor that you have to actually get loose before the rotor will come out. This vehicle does not have this. These 2 holes right here that you see, if this rotor gets stuck on the hub assembly, you can take, I'll put a picture of it right now, but of the specific bolt that you need. But you can drive a bolt down there, tighten them up one by one. You tighten this one, tighten that one, tighten this one, and you can slowly push the rotor out. Or you can get a hammer, hit the rotor, but that's what those 2 holes are for. Right here on the back side of the caliper, you have a 14mm bolt here. You have one right down there. This connects into your slide pins that you need to lube up. There's one here, one right there, and then you need to take these bolts out, which are 17mm. Hopefully you guys can see that where my finger's at right there. There's one here, and then right below it, the 17mm, which releases the brake caliper bracket so you can get the rotor loose. You don't have to change out the rotors, and I'll put a link to a video I did about resurfacing rotors. Sometimes you can save them, but the owner opted just to get new brake pads, new rotors. To get these out, these 17mm, they're usually in there. You need to torque these down to about 80 to 100 foot-pounds. To get them out, I'll usually just use a hammer and a wrench, which I'll show you here in a second how I do that. And these should come out fairly easy. If these start spinning on you, you have a nut right here where my finger is. If you start loosening up this bolt, this 14mm bolt, and this starts spinning on you, get another wrench and hold this while you spin this one loose. Alright? Okay, so I'm going to take these 14mm caliper bolts out. said, they should come right out, which they are. Once you have these out, you'll be able to get this caliper out of the way and get to the brake pads. Right here you have two springs that go into the brake pads that keep the brake pads separated and doesn't allow them to drag on the rotor. Slowly get those out of the way. Pull the old brake pads out. Brake caliper bracket bolts loose. And then, like I said, to do this, I just get my wrench on, get my hammer. And I'm just tapping it with my hammer right here onto the wrench. So it can be in there super tight, super tight. So the rotor just pops right off. I've seen guys on the hub assembly right here, they'll take a grinder, clean up this metal, put some anti-seize on there. I typically don't do that. I'm here in California. We don't see a lot of rust. We actually don't see a lot of rain like the rest of the country does, which is pretty sad. I wish we did. We're always in a drought. But if you guys, I guess if you lived in a rust belt or by the ocean, you see rust on your car, I would go ahead and clean that up with a steel wool brush or like a little grinder, and then put some anti-seize in there to stop the rotor from getting stuck on there. Okay, so we have the brake caliper bracket off. It's right here. Right here are your two pins. These slide back and forth. It's a floating caliper. So you need these pins to be able to move freely. And right now these pins aren't moving freely. So let me see if I can get a wrench and break them loose. Maybe 17-ish. Got a 15. Nope. Too small. 17. Okay, 17 is good. Now it's a matter of trying to get them out. Okay, so they're not totally stuck in there. Okay, so I'm just taking the head right here, going behind it, try not to rip this rubber boot, and just free it that way. One of these is going to have a rubber, what do you call it? Not a rubber cap, but there's going to be a piece of rubber on the end of this slide pin bolt, and that gets seized. See, it's right there. Some guys, if they don't use the right grease on here, they just slap axle grease, swells this rubber up. It's already swollen. I can feel it. Feel the ridge right here. It just swells up this rubber. So whether it's swollen or not, I always cut these off. I have a video about that very issue. You guys are like, no, it's put there by engineers. You can't do that. You're going to get all kinds of weird noises. It's not going to center correctly. Shut up. So if it was made by engineers, it's supposed to be there. Why is it only on one caliper slide pin? See, I'll pull this one off, and it won't be there. So explain to me that situation, huh? See? No rubber. So if it's so important, why isn't it on both of them? Leave a comment below. Okay, we got the brake cleaner. Spraying it down there. Fill it up. Found my handy dandy pencil. I wish I had a brush small enough. I'm trying to scrape the old grease and get it up and out. Okay. Turn it over. Get some of the stuff out. We're also going to replace this hardware right here. Comes with new hardware. You just need to note which one's top, which one's bottom, and then put the Permatex ceramic brake parts lubricant on it as well. those off right now. 1, 2. 3, 4. Okay, well that's kind of drying. Well, this is drying on the inside. I'm gonna install the new hardware. So just remember which one went where. The top and the bottom clips are different because he has this extra spring where the bottom ones don't. So just remember where you got which side the clips came out of. Sometimes the kits don't come with new hardware, so if they don't, just clean up the old hardware as best as you can. Get some parts, get some brake parts cleaner, get a toothbrush and a rag, and just clean it up as well as you can. Time for the grease. Permatex. I'll put a link where you guys can pick this up on Amazon. Good stuff. I've seen Napa carry this stuff as well. So go ahead and just put my finger down here. Just coat the pin. That's all I gotta do. Put it back down in. Make sure it's sliding really nice and easily. Twist it up and down as well. Get the other pin. Lube that up. I cut off the rubber. I know some guys are going to leave crap comments about me cutting that off. Oh, engineers put it there for a reason. The engineers. Yeah, well, engineers always don't know what they're doing. Just look at the Ford 6.0 liter. That's a pile of junk. So if this rubber is getting air stuck in there, just pull it up and over and make a little crease to let the air escape and then push it down. There you go. Moving real nice in there now. One thing you do not want to do is you don't want to get this stuff on the new rotor, so just be careful. Alright, another point of protection that you need to put the Permatex on is the slide pins, or not the slide pins, the contact points for the brake pad. So I just take some, rub my finger, put it onto the new hardware. Top, go ahead and do the bottom, or this is actually the top. Coat it real nice. This allows the pads to slide back and forth. Most guys don't take the time to do this. This is what I'm doing and showing you. Most shops will ignore this step altogether. Because the faster they get the job done, the more money they make. Okay, so this is ready to go back in. Put grease here, 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 here. Did the slide pins, which are moving a lot easier now. And we're good to go. Okay, don't get your grimy paws on the new rotor, especially the braking surface. Okay, now the rotor just sitting right there. I like to go ahead and take a lug nut on the bottom, drive it down, which holds the rotor in place, which makes everything easier to install. Alright, so that's not going anywhere. The rotor is not going anywhere. Found my bolts. Bring that back into place. Like I said earlier, you're going to want to torque these down to about 80 to 100 foot-pounds. Just got to move the caliper bracket around a little bit to have everything line up correctly. Okay, bring in my torque wrench, set it to 100 foot-pounds. There's 1, 2. 100 foot-pounds on those brake caliper bracket bolts. You do not want those going anywhere. Bring in the new pads. They just slide into place. Don't get your grimy, greasy, dirty paws all over the brake caliper surface, or the brake pad surface. There's 2. Bring in your springs. Don't leave these out. There's 2. I forgot to push back the piston inside the brake caliper. So I'll do that right now. So bring your caliper piston back up. Here's the brake caliper piston. Here are the 2 pistons. Here's your brake caliper. You need to push this back in. So get yourself an old, one of the old brake pads. And I get a 6-inch C-clamp. And you just slowly compress the piston. You have to go back and forth to get this to collapse right, since there's 2 pistons. Just slowly but surely close it up. Okay, gonna go to the other side. One thing you want to do before you take off in your car for the first time after doing this job is make sure you press, before you start the vehicle at all, press the brake pedal 10 times so that these pistons actually will come back out and make contact with the new brake pads, or you'll have no brakes when you go on the road the first time. The reason you're doing this is that there's more meat on the new brake pads than the old ones, and you need to make room for that new material. Okay, bring in your brake caliper. Boom shakalaka. Everything will line up. On the bolt. Okay, there you go. There's no, I'm sure there is a torque spec for this bolt right here, but the 2 bolts, I just do it snug. The key one to remember is the one for the bracket itself, brake caliper bracket. You need to do that to 90 to 100 pounds, closer to 100. Just do 100 foot-pounds on that. I won't bore you with putting the wheel back on, but I will torque the lug nuts down to 80 foot-pounds. This is just a trick I learned a long time ago to keep the rotor in place while you're installing everything. Don't get your dirty paws on the rotor or the surface of the brake pads either. So, if you guys have found this video helpful, please subscribe to Bundys Garage on YouTube. Questions, comments, concerns, you can always reach out to me at bundysgarage@gmail.com. And like always, I'll keep them rolling for you.